and welcome to Crafty Christmas, brought to you by the fine folks at Norfolk County Heritage and Culture. Thank you for joining us today. So for our Crafty Christmas, we just need a few things that you might have in your household. So we need some paper, and if you do have fancy paper, that's wonderful. Please feel free to use it, but if you don't and you have plain printing paper, that's great because you can actually color it or add stamps and make it your own, and that makes it really unique and special. So you do need paper. If you have ribbon, that's fun, but again, you can also use pencil crayons or whatever you have in the household. If you have a glue stick or white glue, that would be helpful. Some scissors, a hole punch, and some yarn. So we are going to make a few different crafts together today. So get your items ready and we'll get started. Boys and girls, thank you again for joining us today. And so our next craft is actually going to require just a very few things. We are going to make a Victorian tassel that we can put on our tree. So I have one here, and we just put it on there. It just requires some yarn and scissors, and a book. And you would like to, if you could, bring a soft covered book. They're easier to work with, okay? So find a book, some yarn, and some scissors. And I would say the yarn you want to use should be a thin yarn. We have a thick yarn as well. This one's made from a thick yarn, and it is a bit more difficult to work with. So for our first one, let's try a thin yarn. We are going to use our book, and we are going to just place our finger, the yarn, at the bottom of our book closest to us, and hold that down with our finger. So using your hand is really important. It is going to keep that yarn in place. If we let go, you will end up just making another big ball of yarn. And we are going to wrap this yarn around 20 times, okay? A key kind of success, I guess, key to success with this is just actually putting this ball of yarn down on the ground, okay? Just make sure you don't step on it. So let's do this together. So I'm holding that down with my finger, and I'm going to wrap this around 20 times. So every time you go around fully, that's one wrap. So we're at 3. Just take your time. I've done this a few times, and so I'm tending to be a little bit more quick with it. And a little clue, boys and girls, I don't know if you know this, but the ball of yarn has now slipped away across the floor. So you may want to keep it on the side that you're actually wrapping. So I'm using my right hand to wrap with. So if you keep the ball on the right hand side, it won't kind of run away on you. And, well, it might run away on you, but it's the yarn won't overlap as much. You can see, so I have lost count, but I would say we're at 15, maybe 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So boys and girls, I have wrapped my yarn around my book 20 times, okay? So I'm just going to take the end of my yarn, which is still attached to the ball of yarn, and I'm just going to carefully trim it. Now, because we're using a soft book, we should be able to put our hands under and put them underneath the yarn. So, this is when you need adult help. So I'd appreciate it if you have an adult in the house, if you could get them to help you at this point. And you can put the video on pause if you need to. So, we are going to take our child-friendly scissors, and we are just going to cut through, being careful of our book, cut through our yarn. Now, if you use a really thick yarn, you're going to have to go and cut very slowly. And as you cut, you'll have to cut one piece of yarn or one kind of string of the yarn at a time. It is difficult to cut through the thick yarn. So now we can put our book away. Phew, it's nice and safe. And we can lay our yarn out. Wonderful. So it's a nice big string. So boys and girls, the next thing we are going to do is to attach a string so we can hang our tassel from our tree. So I am going to use a contrasting color, contrasting to the white, unfortunately not to the green tablecloth, but I am going to cut a nice piece of yarn about the same length as our tassel. Okay, so now we are going to take each end of our tassel and we are going to bring them together. So on the camera screen, it looks like a nice little smile, but when you're looking at it, it will almost look like hair hanging down. So we are going to just put our contrasting color string through here and we are going to tie it. And if you need to learn how to make a reef knot, which are the knots that we use throughout our videos, you can just visit the Victorian fan video, because that is where I show you how to make a reef knot. Okay, so, and I'm making a knot to tie it here, and a knot as well up top, so we have a nice circle. Okay, so we can definitely hold this up and hang that from the tree, but it would be nice to have a nice little ball along the top. Okay, so now I am going to take another piece of the nice yarn that we've been using, the white yarn. I'm going to cut a nice long piece, and what we will do is we will lay it on the table. Okay, so there it is, and I am going to lay the first quarter. So if we were to divide our little tassel in 4 parts with our mind, so there's half, this would be a quarter. So we're going to put the first quarter, just lay it across this piece of string, and then we are going to tie it. Now boys and girls, if you've ever made yarn dolls, this is actually the beginning step of making a yarn doll. And yarn dolls can be really fun to make, and you can end up with a whole collection. And to make a yarn doll, all you would do is wrap along the shorter portion of your book. You would wrap your yarn, and then when you have your yarn out, you would just tie a knot in either end, and those would be your arms, and you would slip them in here, and then you would tie off the waist, and you would have a yarn doll. So you can actually make those to add to your tree as well. But today we'll just have our Victorian tassel. So boys and girls, here's our finished tassel. And you know what, these little strings here, I'm just going to cut those off. And I think it's fairly cute. And I actually would add a little bit more yarn to my next one. So I might do 30 wraps around the book. And if you would like, you can trim off the extra so it's all even. So I might just do that. Give my yarn tassel a little haircut. Again, be careful and make sure you have some adult help with those scissors, okay? Okay, there we go. So let's add this yarn tassel to our other decorations. Let's put it up here. There we go. Okay, so on our tree, we have our yarn tassel, which is lovely, our paper chains, our cornucopia, which I have yet to fill with candy. I'm still thinking about what kind I should fill it with. And then our Victorian paper fans. So we hope you've had fun during this crafty Christmas. And please share your completed crafts with us. We would love to see what you've done. And thank you so much for joining us.